Today, we delve into the enchanting realm of monster romance, where the tales of humans and orcs unfold with an unprecedented depth of emotion and complexity. At the heart of these narratives is something truly special. My fine tuned OpenAI model, crafted from a dataset rich with my own pre AI writings. This isn't just any AI, it's a bespoken creation that brings my unique voice to life, making AI-isms a relic of the past. With every word and sentence, it at the heart faithfully captures the essence of my style, ensuring that the story of Flora and Drax is not only engaging but unmistakably mine. Prepare to be transported into a world where technology meets tradition and where the lines between human and artificial creativity blur in the most intriguing way. Faithfully captures the essence of my as you can see, I am inside of OpenAI's playground, and off to the left under my system area, you see my prompt, which states right in the style of an orc monster, orc male, human female, fictionalized story. Now, I do state that sometimes the characters curse with human or orcish phrases. I will read some of the content, but if there is anything that I feel is too colorful to read on the YouTube video, then I will skip over that section. It also states to write a gritty first person limited POV orc monster narrative. Now, a lot of the information that you see here is what I had inside of my data set underneath my system prompt. And I'm using it again here because I found that using it within this section of my system prompt kind of helps. Now, you will also notice that I do have one of my frameworks. It is very specific to my monster romances because I have specific dialogues, phrasing, or settings, sensory details that I want the LLM to convey. Now, again, because the model that I am using was actually built or designed using my pre AI work, it mimics my voice, a voice that I wrote prior to ever using any AI. So this is based off content that I wrote maybe 2, 3 years. One of the things that I really love about using my fine tune is that it does not have any of that AI-ism. The other thing that just really frustrated me when I was using some of just the straight up GPT 3.5 or even 4 is that there were a lot of AI-isms. Now, what do I mean by AI-isms? Often all of the names were the same, or it had, oh, we're in this together if it was a romance, or let's do this, or it was constantly saying to have the characters take a leap of faith. Everybody's eyes had either a determined spark in them, or the blue eyes were narrowed with determination, or somebody said something with determination. So a lot of that is stuff that I wanted cut out of my prose, and it was something that I was having to cut out manually from any AI generated prose. The other thing that I really disliked is that a lot of the AI generated content prior to me using my fine tune actually had a lot of really long, winding sentences. I do tend to like to have some shorter, punchy sentences. And I also really dislike using the word as in the middle of a sentence as a coordinating conjunction. Because when you state that character X is doing XYZ while ABC is occurring, it can take things out of chronological order. So that is one of the things in my data set that my writing is void of because I do not do that. Another thing is I don't have a lot of empty dialogue tags. There are times when I might have dialogue banter between two characters, and you may not see any of those he said, she said tags. I do find that the LLM, even with my fine tune, will throw some of those in there from time to time, but I definitely see a vast improvement of the amount that is actually generated. So let's take a look. Here under my user prompt, I say write in Flora Reddy's first person POV past tense. I do state to make it gritty, use visual, grunge, active. I also want it to follow the flow of the story beats, starting with beat one. I give it a date, time. I give it a list of characters. I also give it a little bit of information about Drax. Now, here I could state that she is human. I've already stated that over in my system prompt, and I don't feel that it hurts to put it over in this section. What I will tell you though is that I generated, gosh, I want to say probably over 100,000 words on Playground earlier today. And I think it was like $1.20 that I spent, which just amazes me. Now, again, I am using my fine tune, which is going to be under a 3.5 turbo. And that is actually a model that doesn't charge a whole lot, so that's one of the reasons why I was able to hit about 100,000 words for about $1, 20. Now taking a look, my fine tune again is 3.5 Turbo 1106. This is my personal account for Marigold, and this is the model or project number that is associated with the data set that I used for monster romance. I can even use it for sci-fi romance or even shifters because it works well among the three different areas. When it came to temperature, I actually found that I preferred a temperature of at the lowest of zero point 0.7, but I really like the zero point 0.8, zero point 0.9 for my monster romances. Now, if I wanted something that was more scientific, maybe for an SFR that had a lot of tech information in it, then I might push it up to like, say, a 1.2, even a 1.5. And I found that it did well. I do tend to push my max length all the way to the 2048. If I find that I am generating and then I tell it to continue, and I see that it has not finished, then that's really the only time that I'll play around with bringing my maximum length down. But for the most part, I will keep it at the 2048 because I really want my generation to hit about 1,500 words at least each time I am generating. My top P, I like to keep at a zero point 0.5. I tried it lower and I've tried it higher, and while they do okay, I really prefer it at the zero point 0.5. When it comes to the frequency penalty and the presence penalty, I have played around with those two and I've taken it down and I've taken it up, but I found that I really preferred it at a 0. Now, as you can see, it says that by moving the frequency penalty, you can decrease the model's likelihood to repeat the same line or verbiage. One of the things that I have noticed, especially keeping it at 0, is that if the LLM runs out of context or information to follow within my beats, and this usually happens about 2 to 3 generations in by hitting the submit button on the same 5 beats, that it might begin to repeat itself. And it does that because it no longer has enough context within my story beats to continue to maybe sustain, say, 3,500 words all the way up to maybe 4,000, 5,000 words. It's going to start looping and repeating content. And I have found that consistently. Now, would that change if I played around with my frequency penalty more? More than likely. But again, I only want these chapters to be about 2,800 to 3,200 words. I have found that the controls that I have work well for me in that regard. As you can see, my beats talk about Flora, who is leading a raid against some goblin scouts. We know that she saves a young soldier from a deadly goblin blow. We know that there is a climax here where the tides turn and an orc warrior shows up. We know that she is warned to look behind her because there are some advancing enemy coming forward. And we know that we want it to end on a cliffhanger. Now, notice up at the top, I have instructions on that I want it written in first person. I found that I can do that and it does fine, but I found that if I repeat it twice right here in Playground, that at least for me, it tends to write better that way. Now, does that mean that it will do it 100% of the time? No, it is an AI. It is running off of predictive indexing and it can get things wrong. But I can tell you from all the generation that I have run over, say, the past 2 weeks, I have found that more often than not, it will behave and actually follow my instructions to write in first person and to write in past tense, or to write in first person present. Or if I change it to third person past, it will do that as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at what it generates for us today. So as you can see, it does have some curse words. It does bring forward my character with a very specific flavor. It does talk about the conversation between her and the different goblins. It does show during that conversation the banter that goes back and forth. When we scroll back up, you'll see that there's not a lot of empty dialogue tags. If you look here, we do not have dialogue tags, but they are not needed because it is clear who is speaking. So again, if we look at the content, we can see what was written. Now, if I turn my temperature up to say 1, and I regenerate, say I take this content out. And again, if you want something punchy, it will definitely put in specific wording for you. So I'm going to remove this and let's run it again at a 1. Now notice how different it is whenever I run it at a 1. There is more narrative. And I do still have dialogue. It tones down the language a bit, which I don't mind depending on what it is that I am writing. If I want it to be punchy, if I want it to have more of that colloquial language, then I would definitely take it back down to a point 0.7 or a point 0.8. So let me go ahead and take this back up to the top, take a look at what it generated. Says, my fingers wrapped around the bow's string, and I knocked an arrow, then drew back the weapon. The familiar tension in my shoulder muscles, a welcome sensation. The first goblin of the morning to scout the war-torn village's outskirts came into view. It was a small, lean individual with a pointy nose and ears. The little guy moved with a nimbleness that made it hard to keep in my sight. Look at the content that it is generating. It is definitely something that a normal AI generally would not generate for me, even with really heavy prompting. The type of prompting I'm doing right now is pretty typical for me, and to me, this is a leaner sense of prompting that I am using. Here it talks about how she's telling the goblin to shut up. I swiveled my head on my shoulders, then shot daggers with my eyes at the smirking face of my childhood friend and second in command. I thought you'd never ask. Luke's grin was infectious, and despite my best efforts to maintain a stoic expression, a small smile tugged at the corners of my lips. The goblin's laughter had almost come to an end, and at that moment I released the taunt string, sending the arrow flying. The silver-tipped projectile embedded itself in the center of the creature's chest. Now, as I stated before, when I had it down to the point 0.7 or point 0.8, I did see more of the cursing. I did see more of the punchy dialogue. My prose was not quite as long when it came to the narrative, but again, I like the voice better when I am using this specific LLM because it sounds more like my voice. Here it's talking about the goblin's war cry. Do you think it's an inherited trait? Like some people are born with a talent for music, drawing, or, stuff like that. Do you think they teach it in goblin school? Luke, I swear to all that is holy, if you don't shut your trap, I'll give you something to really gripe about. Again, it has a lot of the punchiness of my voice for this specific genre and especially for the pen name that this is written under. Now, again, notice how it has a lot more of that longer narrative when I'm at the 1. Now, if I take this up to a 1.5 or a 1.6, you're actually going to see that it has a little bit more technical terms in it. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to decrease that. I'm going to take that off. And let's go ahead and turn this up to a 1.5, and let's go ahead and generate it that way. We still have our colloquial language because that is one of the things that I have asked for is colloquial language. And on top of that, I also asked for there to be curse words and orcish phrases. So the combination of the two of those along with the colloquial language element to my prompts, that gives me some of that colorful language. So let's see. So here, let's go down and find a little bit of dialogue. Now, one of the things that I really liked before we get to the dialogue is that in the other LLMs that were not fine tuned, I did not get any of that deeper point of view. I didn't get to know what the character was thinking about. I didn't get a sense of who that character was. But when I'm using my fine tune, I definitely get a sense of who my character is. Things like, oh, and just to clarify, I'm the only one that statement applies to. And I'm not talking about some other me running around out there. No, no, that's not what I meant. I'm the only human with a sassy mouth, a brain full of tactical stuff, and a hell of a lot of combat skills training under my belt, or rather, I should say, crammed into her brain. Yeah, so as you can see, I'm a bit of a one off, and I'm completely honest, I'm a special kind of messed up right now. So, again, taking a look at it, this is all stuff that is part of her narrative. Some of it is her internal thought, and I'm still getting that when I'm going to a 1.5. But I notice that I get a lot more technical stuff if I am working with a sci-fi. And if I'm working with my monster romance or PNR, I might get more of my character's internal thoughts, or I might get more of that narrative feel to what their emotional state is. My gaze flicked to the green orc riding in front of me, the one who made it his personal mission to capture me. Well, him and his buddies. The fabric of his battle-worn leather vest strained over his broad, muscular back, making me wonder if all the green-skinned men of his race hit the gym on the regular, or if he was an exception to the rule. Again, this is definitely the voice of this specific pen name. So why did I want to showcase this specific LLM today? I wanted to show you how vastly different generation can look between a fine tune and when you're actually using just a normal, say 3.5 turbo. So you've already seen me generate a few times with my LLM with a specific LLM that is designed for this pen name. Now, if I drop this down and I just go to a normal turbo right here, not my fine tune right now, we're in my fine tune. But if I go to the normal turbo and I erase what was already generated here and I submit, Let's take a look at what it does. So, as you notice, my dialogue did not start until later on. I really didn't get that much prose. Let's see. The dawn broke like a bone, cold and unforgiving. The war torn village outskirts whispered tales of bloodshed and loss, a grim canvas for the impending clash. My muscles tensed, ready for the dance of death as I led my raid against the goblin scouts. So everything that you see in here is telling. Everything down to the dawn broke like a bone, the air crackling with tension, thick with the scent of impending battle. It is telling what is happening. There's not dialogue here. I'm not getting a sense of whose head I am in. I'm not even getting a sense of what my character is thinking. Now, I do know that she's stating my team, a ragtag group of survivors, look to me for guidance. Luke, my loyal lieutenant, his eyes mirroring determination. So again, you get a lot of that. Everybody's got either a determined voice, a determined look, their eyes narrow in determination. So those are some of those AI-isms that I do not get when I use my LLM that I have fine-tuned. Now, again, this is just GPT 3.5 Turbo. This is not my fine-tune. So let's scroll down and take a look. It's continuing to tell me in the midst of the chaos, a young soldier stumbled, a goblin blade aimed for his heart. Without hesitation, I lunged my blade. So all of this is telling. Now take a look. It's even saying the save the cat moment, a reminder of why I thought, why I led. So again, some of my prompt is even bleeding into the normal GPT 3.5 Turbo. So this is one of the reasons why I was so excited to have my trained LLM and why using my data set of my pre-AI writing meant so much to me as an author, because now I can actually use my fine tune to write a scene that sounds more like me. This sounds nothing like me. This is not my voice. This is not something that I would publish because one, again, it's so passive, it's telling. It does not show the story unfolding. Here we have Drax growled, his grin savage. We have very little dialogue, two sentences. That is all we have of dialogue. So let's go ahead and turn that back into the LLM that I was using earlier. As you can see, I've gone ahead and selected that again. We're going to remove this section again, and let's try another one. Let's go to a point 0.9 and let's generate. We have the same beats. Nothing has changed. And let's submit. So now we have banter. Look at all the dialogue that we have. It is all based off of my specific character. This is the way that my character or my pen name would have characters speak. Now take a look at all of the dialogue that we're getting. We're getting banter. We don't have a lot of those empty dialogue tags. And I do apologize for the curse words. Again, this is what this character does. So here it's asking, what did the little quacking individual ever do to me? The words to the nonsensical phrase that my uncle, a retired vet, used to say made me grin, even if only on the inside. Uncle Pete's face swam into my mind's eye, and I could hear his deep, rich baritone voice reciting the playful words. The man's grizzled face and salt and pepper crew cut. Now, would I keep some of that? I might keep some of it, but I probably wouldn't keep all of that. I would probably come down after I started something and come down to maybe even this section here. Now, we know that the cold had seeped into her bones, making her muscles stiff. Now, do I need all of that, or could I move that around? What I might start with is, "Good morning, Sleeping Beauty," Luke said, his voice soft and close to my ear. "You ready to join the land of the land of the living?" So again, take a look. There is dialogue here. Ask the what? I peeled my eyes open and squinted at the light of the emerging sun. A blinding glow hit my retinas, making my head throb in protest. Ask the what, he says. His teasing tone brought a smile to my lips. If you weren't such a individual in the morning, you'd almost be tolerable. Almost, huh? I shifted my body, then turned my head to look at him. And what do I need to do to make myself more tolerable? Well, for starters, you could make me breakfast. A grin spread across his lips, making me want to wipe that smug look off his face. Breakfast. I drew the word out, allowing the taste of the vowels to linger on my tongue. And what would you like me to make you, huh? Taking a look at it, again, I have all of this dialogue, and this is at a point 9. Now, if I take that down even further to say a point, probably going to get a whole lot more dialogue, and it may not be what I'm looking for. Here's where my dialogue begins. And as you saw earlier, when I was using just the GPT 3.5 Turbo, it was telling me the story rather than showing it unfold. Now, I am going to grab this content here and let's see how many words that is. So give me just a minute. I am going to grab a Word document and let me pull that over and let's take a look. So this is exactly what I copied and pasted. It is 1,579 words. If I scroll up, you can maybe see it a little bit better. So it's talking about the smoke and charred wood clung to the inside of my nose, making my eyes water. Dawn's first light broke over the horizon, casting a pinkish glow over the skeletal remains of the village. Once, long ago, people lived, laughed, and loved in the now desolate homes. Some of those people, their ancestors, had trained me to wield a weapon. Now, do I like some of that? I might keep some, but I feel that I could probably kill some of this because I really don't need it here. Now, it is talking about, let's say, a hand clamped over my mouth and an arm looped around my waist, lifting me off the ground. Now, would I keep some of this? Sure, and I might even put additional information in here, but I might tone it down a little bit. Now, I do like her coming in and she brought him down, pinned him to the ground, knocked the breath out of him, and made him groan. So here he is. Luke is wheezing. I knew it was you. Again, this is definitely the way that my pen name, this specific writing voice sounds. And if you make a comparison to what we read earlier with the 3.5 Turbo and this, hands down, I would pick this any day. So again, taking a look at it has so much more of the dialogue. And I do have the sun here, so we don't get rid of it completely, but notice that it's just talking about the sun had barely cleared the horizon, but already I could feel the heat of the day building. If all went well, and it never did, we'd engage the goblins, take them out, then return to the resistance camp before the heat of the day set in. If not, well, I didn't want to think about the alternatives. So I do prefer that over the traditional AI-isms, you know, bows and ties. But let's take a look. I want to see what happens if I ask it to continue. Now, notice how it did not finish this sentence right here. So one of the ways that I prompt the LLM to continue is just simply to say, please continue. And I'll do something just as simple as that. Please continue where you left off. And then I notice I copied that last sentence that was unfinished and put that in there. Please continue where you left off. This kid, he could have ... So let's see what it does. This kid, he could have ... Now it continues with that. I can either keep that verbiage or I can get rid of it. Notice how I do have dialogue. I also have some narrative in between, and it's continuing the story here. Now, remember what I said earlier. If I hit continue too many times, after a while, I will have repeats. It will begin to loop and repeat itself because it will not have enough content to finish. So let's take a look. And one of the areas that you can see if it starts to loop is to look here. Are you serious? Let's see. We have fine. Are you serious? And let's see if we have a repeat of any of that. So we only have that once. And let's take a look to see if we have fine more than once in there. So we have it a total of 5 times. Fine. I took another drink, then set the bottle down. Tell me what you need me to do. First, you need to tell me what's in the field and why they're drilling. And then the character's saying, fine. I took a deep breath, then the words tumbled out of my mouth. They're drilling because they're getting ready to move on the ruins. So again, I have 2 occurrences here, but let's make sure that it didn't loop. So it did not loop. It's not talking about drilling. Well, they're running drills, but not working within the actual ruins. So let's take a look further up. So going down and going up. Now, if I tell it to continue, I might end up with looping. So let's tell it to continue. So they're talking about the plan. We have a narrative in there. We're still talking about it. Now, if you didn't want it to go and write another, say, 1,500 words, then I would have moved the max token length here. Now, I wouldn't go any further than this because I really do think it would begin to start looping. Now, notice I have a lot more narrative here. And that is because we see the other orcs, there were 5, made their way to the beast and Luke. The one closest to me, he was lean and tall and he moved like a dancer. Well, that lets you know that it's beginning to run out of context. When you start to notice really odd things like that, you know that you have basically told it to continue one too many times. Because definitely we don't want orcs dancing or prancing. So let's take a look at how many words that generated. So the first generation, we ended with this one here, could have. So let me go ahead and grab this one. I am going to paste that here. Let's go ahead and hit enter a couple of times. And I just placed it here. We're going to hit enter a few more times because I want to take a look at how many words this has generated. Give me a minute to drag that back over. So I hit generation 3 times. Notice I'm at 4,793 words. Let's go ahead and scroll. Again, this is where my sample started. Notice all of the dialogue. We have different actions showing what they are doing. It's not just a whole bunch of eyes that are determined. We're not having to take a leap of faith. We don't have Willow Creek anywhere. Goblin down. She motioned for me to follow her. So again, we do have some I said, but it's not every single bit of dialogue. Let's scroll down and find. Oh, and notice how my ellipses have spaces in between. That is because I trained it to do that inside of my data set. The other thing that you'll notice is that it also generates M dashes for me, which are actually the long M dash rather than the little short little dash. So let's see if it shows one of those here in a minute. Here you go, right here. Now, it did that because in my data set, that's how I have my content written. So again, it looked at my data set and that's why it's giving me this information. So again, we have a lot of banter. We have a lot of dialogue. We continue the story. Whenever we get down, we have more dialogue. Again, we have the M dashes. Here is one of my continuations. So take a look. Yes, I shook. Same thing here. If I take some of these out, remember I told it to continue. It continued with yes, I shook and yes, I shook. Do I feel that a fine tune is worth it? Yes. Well, I continue to use my fine tunes 100%. And I encourage you take a look at some of your pre-AI writing, see how you can work at creating some data sets to be able to generate some prose. Now, let me take a look and see if I can pull up. Let's see. I have saved ones here. What I could do is pull up one of my others. Sterling is a dystopian, so I could definitely pull up Sterling. Let me save this status. I'm going to save this as monster romance. And let's go ahead and put my character's name, and I'm going to save that. Now, whenever I come up here, I know that I can always pull up this data set. Let's go to Sterling. Now, Sterling, let's remove the content. Now, if you look, Sterling has a total of 10 beats. Now, can I use 10 beats? Sure. Now, one of the things that I found with the 10 beats is that sometimes it will really skip over a lot of the information. And that's why I found that maybe using the 5 beat or paragraph tends to work better in OpenAI's playground. Let's take a look at the model. It's the same one, the SXNY. Let's see what that will do for us. Right now, it is at a 0.7. I do have Sterling's information here. She is a SIP-L life form. This is dystopian. It's post-World War III, a dystopian world with advanced technology. So let's take a look and see what this one will do for us. Now, I do state to write prose for chapter 1. What I have found that makes it write a little easier is if I remove that chapter 1, I come here and I just state that it is this individual's. Let's do a third person. Limited POV. We'll do past tense. Let's make sure that what I have here, let's see, do I have past tense or a third here? And genre, chapter outline, POV, multiple points of view. Let's go ahead and multiple points of, let's do third to offer a comprehensive understanding. Let's go ahead and say past tense. And now that I have that in here, let's go back. We're going to say to write prose in Sterling's third person limited POV past tense. And I'm going to just copy this and I'm going to take it down to the bottom. Let's go back up. We have story beats here. We know that this is beat 1. So I have it set to a 7, but let's go ahead and do it at a 0.9. I have this set to 2048, 0.5, and let's see what this gives us. Now again, this is a different type of story. Notice it does not have the same level of cursing that the other examples had, and that is because I did not put over in my system prompt to use colloquial language, and I did not ask to have it have cursing. Let's see how many words this is, and I'm going to grab that. I am going to move the Word document over, and let's paste that. And the word count is 1,651 words. So let's clean it up just a little bit. And I am going to go in under the line spacing. We'll just make it 0 here. We'll indent the first line. And I actually like to put it at a 1.5. So let's go back up. Something about the skeletal remains of the building from World War III made the blood in her veins run cold. Perhaps it was the history of the war that had decimated parts of the world, or maybe it was the knowledge that the remains of the dead still lingered, waiting to tell their stories. Not that their stories mattered. They were human, and as such, they were expendable. A distant rumble sounded, drawing her attention to the sky. The silver lining of the mission, if one cared to look for such a thing, was the fact that she now had a clear line of sight to the target. So again, taking a look at the different type of prompting and then using the LLM that I have selected, you can see that just a little bit of prompting stating to curse, to use colloquial language in the first data set that I was showing you with the beats, with the monster romance gave you a completely different feel. Using the same LLM and prompting it a little bit different gave me this content. Now, do I still have dialogue? I will, but only once my character engages somebody. Notice how she is not speaking to herself. She does not have any of that going on up here. She is just thinking. Do you seek peace in Arcadia? Deep voice, the deep booming voice cut through the remaining echoes of the prior words spoken by the man now standing in front of her. Now, would I change that? Yes, because this is wordy. And I'd probably move it up here with the dialogue so that people would know that that goes together. Her implant continued to scan the target's face. So again, I'm able to see stuff not good. I'd probably put that in italics because that is her deeper thought. In less than 10 seconds, her technology should have given her a 95% match. The delay, or rather the incomplete scan, was the first of its kind since her installation of the latest upgrade. So again, because she's an AI, we get to see a lot of the content that is flowing here. Now, we do see a break here where it probably went on to my next beat. So I would look here to see what kind of a transition that I would need. But again, it is still the same two characters. It's my main character and the individual that infiltrated her. Go with peace, sisters. The man who, based on the incomplete data, was more than likely Armani Cross, the man she had been sent to capture. A quick scan of the surrounding area and of the individuals who remained standing revealed no immediate threat. Her advanced vision allowed her to see the individuals' faces in the dim light. So again, it is slowing down. It is giving us more narrative. It is talking more about her ocular implant. It's talking more about a lack of oxygen in the blood. It's talking about the different conditions. It's talking about her gaze flicked to the area of the room where the prior conversation with the men had taken place, the low lighting technology. So because she's an AI, it is focusing on some of those areas that I wouldn't have had in the monster romance. So let me go ahead and pull this out. And I want to show you what that will do if I maybe take it up to, say, a 1.2. Let's go ahead and remove them and submit. She has a new handler report. She's getting information from her handler. She's still having the ocular implant information. Now, if I wanted to continue, then here under the user message, then I would just say, please continue where you left off, colon, and then I would just put, she said nothing, only ... And then I would hit submit to continue. Now notice the higher up I got, I'm beginning to have more of this she repeats, the person said, but the lower I go, I have less of that. Now let's take a look at this. Let's see, right here, she has his absence tonight without so much as a notification set her synthetic brain on edge. New handler, awaiting confirmation of receipt. Her reply, short and to the point, was in line with the protocol she'd been programmed to follow, but the lack of a name or identification number in the sender's field left her feeling exposed and alone. So again, it's showing you the breakdown of the different stuff that came through. A list of objects, each with a checkbox next to it, came into view. So again, because she is an AI, it is showing specific information and how she's communicating. But let's go ahead and remove this. I want to show you again what it will generate with just the normal GPT 3.5, not what my trained LLM will do. And that was pretty short. Let's go ahead and remove that again. Let's remove this top one and let's try that again. There we go. And again, it's really short. Now, if I turn it all the way up, it will definitely give me more here. Let's take this down to a point. Again, it stops. So I'm really not getting a whole lot there. Now, if I take it to GPT-4, let's see what it'll do for us. And I can definitely take it up a little bit. Let's see what it does. So 820, so 850, 85. So let's take it down a little bit. Let's go ahead and try it again. Again, this is all telling. It is not as active as what it generates when I'm using my actual LLM that I have trained. There's no dialogue in here. It's strictly telling a sudden static buzzed in her ear, an unfamiliar voice, not still her regular handler. So it is telling us. It's not even telling us what the voice has said. All of this is inactive. It is telling the story. But if I go back in and I pull up my content for my LLM, it begins to have a little bit of dialogue. It definitely has some conversation there. We get more information whenever it comes to the surroundings. It orients. It's so much more active. If I go up to the top, again, it's talking about the skeletal remains of the building, which is what we see up here, the crumbling remains of the building from World War III. So we get to see all of that. From where she's at, she has a clear view of the cult members and just not enough data, Sterling mumbled. Now she murmured to herself, then activated her implant. Please, let's get this right. The T581 model she relied on for scanning was one of the best in the market, or so she had been told. So again, we see that this is in third. Now let's see what it'll do if I switch it to first. And remember, I need to change it over here as well because I have third written in this section as well. So let's go find it here. I'm going to change this first person. And we do not need limited. Let's just say third person POV. And let's go ahead and let's change that to, let's do a 0.8. My carbon fiber muscles remained coiled. So we get a little bit more information about her in first person. So let's let this finish and we'll go take a look. And let's see how much that generated. And let's go ahead and tell it to continue while we're doing that. So while that is generating, I am going to grab a Word document and let's plug that in. And let's see, that was 1,578 words. My carbon fiber muscles remained coiled, ready to spring into action at the first sign of danger. A thin layer of dust tickled the inside of my throat, and I suppressed the urge to cough. So again, it's starting out telling me a little bit about what's happening. A gust of wind is whipping her hair. Repetitive data pulled from my memory core of the works of William Wordsworth. Specifically, his poem, I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud, came to mind. The line, a host of golden daffodils. So again, it is pulling content. This is definitely something that one of my names would actually pull up. Now, keep in mind that this individual does quote, and I would have to make sure that anything quoted was in public domain. So here we have what I wouldn't give to purge the data clogging my memory. Are you finished? The deep, gravelly voice of my human counterpart still echoed in my mind. Report. His words short and to the point were a welcome distraction. So again, we have him talking to her, and We have her bantering back and forth with him. We have her using her ocular implant. So let's take a look. I am going to pull this over to the side for just a moment. And let's see. Now, do I want this? Probably not. I'd probably kill that. Let's take a look. Go up to the area to find out a series. And that is 3,170 words. So I could just come up, bridge that, and then read this and make changes where I needed to and have a chapter. Now, as our captivating journey through this love and conflict and dystopian worlds concludes, we reflect on the innovation that made it possible. The saga of Flora and Drax, or even Sterling's adventures, rendered through my fine-tuned OpenAI model, signifies a leap forward in storytelling. Trained on a foundation of my personal narratives, this AI transcends the typical AI-isms, offering a storytelling experience that is both authentic and revolutionary. This fusion of unique literary voice with advanced AI technology ensures that every plot twist and every character arc resonates with the depth and nuance characteristics of my writing. It's a testament to the transformative power of personalized AI in storytelling, where traditional craftsmanship and digital innovation converge. I want to thank you for embarking on this pioneering journey with us. As we continue to explore the vast possibilities of AI enhanced narratives inspired by a blend of past insights and future technologies, we look forward to sharing more stories that challenge the boundaries of imagination. Stay tuned for tales where every word reflects the harmony of human creativity and AI precision, making every moment of our stories uniquely compelling and authentically ours. Now, if you enjoyed what you saw today and what was discussed, please be sure to hit that subscribe button, set up your notifications so you don't miss any information like the content contained in today's session. Also, be sure to like, leave a comment, and ring that bell. Recently, I added BuyMeACoffee. It was something that I really was not familiar with, but I've had multiple people ask me, hey, how can I support you? How can I support the channel? Everything that I put out on my website, I am very happy to share with the world. But because I had so many people asking me how to support the endeavors that I do, I went ahead and set up a link to buy me a coffee, or in this case, I drink tea, so it'd be more like a buy a tea. It is live. Again, nobody has to go out and do this. But for those individuals who have been asking me to do that and who would like to support the channel, you are more than welcome to go out to buymeacoffee.com/miracles. I want to thank you for coming out, and until next time, thanks.